Well, as some of you may know, the Hollywood actors' strike recently came to a close. The writers and actors in Hollywood were on strike for most of this year, and that is why the networks have had to rely heavily on reality and competition shows in order to be creating new content during the strike. That's why we've seen on TV this year just an abundance of reality and competition shows, talent shows, singing shows, dancing shows, baking and cooking shows. I personally don't mind that. I actually really enjoy watching those shows because they give everyday people an opportunity to show their talents, to share their gifts before millions of people on television. And it's a wonderful thing to see people shining their light and being able to express themselves and share their gifts. Some of you may remember a few years back, it was on the British TV show Britain's Got Talent when a woman named Susan Boyle came on stage to sing. That clip of her went viral because when she came on stage to sing, before she even uttered a note, the people in the audience were laughing at her. And that's because she didn't look like a pop star. She's a middle-aged woman who came on stage. She had gray, disheveled hair and a dowdy dress. Susan's story is that she grew up in a working class section outside of London, and she never left her home she grew up in. Her siblings all got married and had children and careers, but she stayed at home to care for their mother. And after the mother died, Susan happened to see in the newspaper that the TV show Britain's Got Talent was holding auditions in London. And so she told her siblings, I'm going to take the train to London and I'm going to audition for this TV show. And her siblings talked her out of it. And they said, please do not do this. Because they were so afraid that she was going to be made a fool of. And it looked that way when she walked out on stage. People were laughing at her. But then, of course, we all know what happened. Once she opened up her voice to sing, she just had the voice of an angel. It gave everybody goosebumps. And people in the audience and the whole judges panel, everyone was crying. It was so beautiful. And since that day, Susan Boyle has gone on to become an international recording artist. She has sold over 50 million albums. She's now a multi-millionaire. And she has performed at concert venues, beautiful concert halls in major cities all over the world. And at the end of most of those concerts, she hears, brava, bravo, you know, is the Italian word, which means courage. And I share all of this with you this morning because that really is what Jesus' parable is all about today. The lectionary reading, the gospel reading for the 25th Sunday after Pentecost is known as the parable of the talents. It's where we get our word talent from today. It comes from this story. Now, as we heard, a talent in Jesus' day was a sum of money. It was about $1,000 for one talent. So we're talking a great deal of money. But as we know, Jesus' parables, they weren't really meant to be understood literally. They were meant to be understood spiritually, symbolically. And so Jesus is really talking about not a sum of money, but our talents, our gifts. So as we heard, there were those who took the gifts that they were given and they increased them. They multiplied them. And that made the master so happy. But then we hear that one person who was so afraid that he buried the talent. And we hear then that there was gnashing of teeth, that he was banished into darkness. So what does that mean? Well, it's all about having that courage to take the gifts that we've all been given and to use them in service of the world in order to glorify God. Some of you are familiar with the quote from Henry David Thoreau, and he said, "Most men lead lives of quiet desperation, and they go to their graves with their song still in them." Most people live lives of quiet desperation. They go to their graves with their song still in them. Now, Susan Boyle could have gone to her grave with her song still in her if she had listened to her siblings, or if she let the fear in her head keep her from going to that audition. But she had the courage and the bravery to share those gifts with the world. Elsewhere in the Gospels, Jesus talks about our light. And he says, "No one takes a light and hides it under a bushel basket, but rather puts it on a stand for all of the world to see, to light up the room." That's what we're supposed to be doing, my friends. Jesus said that we're the light of the world. God has given all of us gifts and talents that we are to use, not just in service of us, but for the world and to glorify God. So why then do most people go to their graves with their songs still in them? Well, I think Jesus' parable told us it's because of fear. We think, who am I? How can I do this? What will people think of me? What if I'm not good enough? Or what if I'm too old? So let's talk about that last one first, about being too old. You know, Susan Boyle is in her 60s. Julia Child, her TV show didn't come on TV until she was 55 years old. That's when she came on television. J.R.R. Tolkien, who wrote the Lord of the Rings series, didn't start writing until the age of 62. The same was true of Laura Ingalls Wilder, who wrote the Little House on the Prairie series of books. She started writing it at 64, and she finished the series, the last book, at the age of 76. Of course, Tolkien and Wilder, their books have been turned into series and movies that still touch millions of people today. And then, of course, many of you are familiar with the artist who was known as Grandma Moses, who did not pick up a paintbrush, never painted anything until the age of 78. And the reason she did that was she could no longer use an embroidery needle because of her arthritis. So she picked up a paintbrush. She painted more than 1,000 paintings that now are hanging in the world's finest museums in New York, in Paris, and in Vienna, places she herself never visited. So we are never too old to continue to discover those talents within us and to express them. And so what about those other two questions, those other two fears that we have? What will people think of me? Or what if I'm not good enough? Well, every year that I have been your pastor, I have shared this quote with you that comes from the spiritual writer Marianne Williamson. And I'd like to share it with you for one final time before I leave you. She said, "Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within you. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. It's my favorite quote, because that's the truth. The light of God is not just in some people, not just in what we call the talented people. It's in all of us. All of us are talented. All of us have been given gifts and talents. And our purpose for being is to share those talents and that light with the world. It's not just to free us so that we can live a life of abundance, but so that we can help free others, and so we can glorify God. And so, my friends, that's what I would like to leave you with today, is with that homework. What is the Spirit of God nudging you to do? What is that gift, that talent that you would like to explore and share with the world? Because again, as we share our light with others, we glorify God. Jesus said, "You are the light of the world." And so may you shine that light for all of the world to see. Namaste.